welcome back to KnitCheek. My name is Natalie and I am the cheek behind KnitCheek, and in today's video I am going to be talking all about gift knitting. So I've been knitting for, I don't know, like 15 years, but pretty casually, and I was actually primarily a gift knitter for most of my knitting life until last year. I think 2023 was the first year that I just started making myself a lot of things. I had made myself a couple of things unsuccessfully, and I ended up giving those away anyways, and then like sweaters that never finished or what have you, but primarily a gift knitter. I have a lot of experience gifting knit, and I wanted to talk about my favorite things that I've made as gift knits, what works the best and what didn't work the best, you know, like who you want to give gifts to and the things that you want to consider. Obviously, when gifting a knit gift to a non-knitter, you need to make sure that they know if it's wool that they cannot wash it, or you want to make them something cotton or something that you don't have to worry about that happening. This is where superwash comes into play. I usually don't really like superwash for myself and my own knit items, but it's great for gifting because you can wash it. I've never tested this, but they say you can wash it and tumble dry it or air dry it, but you want to wash it on cold, so you still have a little bit of explaining to do when you gift somebody a superwash knitted item. As far as items that work for gifts and items that don't work for gifts, I find the more practical the item, the more I see my recipients of the gifts using that item. So like if you're gonna make someone, there was a year where I made a lot of chunky beanies with gigantic pom-poms, and they were really fun and I really liked them, and they were really quick to knit. I don't see them getting a lot of wear just because they were kind of like over the top, you know. Last year I knit a lot more practical beanies and they seem to be getting a lot of wear. So I am new to garment knitting, kind of. I've knit garments in the past, but I've never made myself a pullover sweater. My first pullover sweater was this year actually, and it was a Petite knit melange baby sweater, so very tiny sweater. But that was my first pullover sweater that I ever made. So this year I'm really focused on making myself some sweaters so that I can wear them. The weather has finally turned here in Southern California, and I'm so happy that it's getting a little bit chillier. I'm kind of, you know, restraining myself from turning on the heater. It's not that cold, but it is a bit chilly in the house. I could totally wear a sweater at some points in the day. I'm not going to be knitting anybody a sweater anytime soon, although I hope as I progress in my knitting journey that I will be able to knit a couple of people in my life's sweaters. Mr. Cheek especially, I feel like is very knitworthy, and he loves knitwear and he loves woolly wool. That man will wear the scratchiest wool, so it's like really nice to know somebody that I could knit for with like really rustic woolly wool. And then my mom, I would definitely knit a sweater for as well. But I feel like a lot of the gift knits that I've given away in the past weren't the best quality just because I wasn't as an experienced knitter. So I want to get through and knit some sweaters for myself that I can tear apart, redo, whatever, make sure they're perfect, and kind of get some practice before I maybe knit someone else's sweater. So I am very motivated to get knitting those sweaters. So that being said, I don't know if I'll actually be doing a lot of gift knitting this year. If I do, it's going to be last minute and it's going to be stressful. I also did so much gift knitting last year that I don't know if there's really any holes in like anybody close to me that needs a knitted item. But I'll probably get in the spirit closer to Christmas like all of us do and want to start gift knitting. But I put together a list of things that I have knit that I really enjoyed. I'm going to kind of do this as sections, so I have a couple of categories, and I'll start off by telling you the things that I have knit and swear by, and then maybe some other couple options that are also out there. My first and most gifted item is definitely something that is not new, and you've probably heard it from other people on YouTube because it's that good. Like there's a reason why people talk about it. and that is the Oslo Hat. The Oslo Hat is a pattern by Petite knit, and it is a fully stockinette beanie. I only have one of the six that I knit last Christmas, and that is because this is the one that I knit for Mr. Cheek, so it lives here. And he gets a lot of wear out of this. Practical black beanie. It's not necessarily the most exciting thing that I've ever made, but it's extremely practical and it gets a lot of wear. So I knit 4 identical in the yarn beanies for 4 men in my life. There was one that I made a little bit longer because my brother has a little bit of a bigger head. But the rest of them were relatively this size. Now this beanie is a little bit over 100 grams. I want to say it was like 102 grams. And at the time I had bought a lot of yarn for this project, so I wasn't like trying to use one skein of yarn. But I do think that you could get away with one skein of Retrosaria Mondim is what I used for this. And I did hold that double. It's a fingering weight yarn. These beanies that I knit 4 of they're all about 100 grams. I think you can get away with the skein. They are shorter, so they don't have a very long slouchy crown, and that is because the guys in my life would never wear a slouchy beanie. As much as I love slouchy beanies, they are just not, they're not as long. I have a reference here. This is my Petite knit weekend hat that I knit for myself, and if you can kind of see, it's longer in the crown, and that is because I like a little bit of slouch in my beanie. This is a 1x1 rib hat, and so you can just see the difference of like what that looks like. So the thing about this hat that makes it such a breeze and such a great gift knit for me is it's a headsock. It is just stockinette in the round. There's a brief period where the whole thing is stockinette. There's a point where you do the connection here after you do the brim, and then decreasing at the top. But other than that, it's just stockinette in the round. And that's why I think this is such a great gift knit. You can argue that like a chunky beanie is faster and easier to knit, and yes, that's true. But I personally just think stockinette versus rib, like you can turn your brain off, you can knit it anywhere, you can knit it constantly. If you're somebody who likes to knit on the go, and if you like to have multiple projects, the Oslo Hat is an extremely fast knit for me, even though it's DK weight, so it's not, it's not bulky or worsted or some of the other chunky beanies that can go faster, but all those beanies are usually ribbed or have some type of stitch pattern in them. So that is why I love the Oslo Hat. I knit 4 identical beanies in the black Retrosaria Mondim, and then I knit 1 in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, which wasn't as easy to knit because the yarn is just not as Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive is a little, it doesn't have a lot of elasticity. I don't know. But that beanie turned out really cute. That one I used more than 100 grams because I did make it for a female friend and she liked a little bit of a slouch in her beanie. And then I knit the 6th one out of Sweet Georgia's Superwash DK yarn in like a purpley lavender color for another friend of mine. So that was a total of 6 Oslo beanies that I knit last year. And I would totally knit them again. If I did come up with someone to knit something for, this would always be my go-to. And I know that a lot of people have talked about it, so I'm sorry, but I feel like, I don't know, the hype is real. It's worth the hype, I also have as knitted beanies the weekend hat here, which is a 1x1 rib. This is also a pretty enjoyable knit for me. If you're somebody who doesn't mind 1x1 rib, for me it's not stockinette, especially because 1x1 rib can sometimes be messy, and you really have to focus, or for me I have to focus on my tension. So as much as I love this beanie, this is my beanie, and I don't know if I would be knitting anybody one of these beanies as a gift if I had the Oslo hat as an option. So a couple of other patterns that I know are also stockinette, if you're looking for a different pattern besides Petite knit, or if you've knit the Oslo hat and you're looking for something different. Some other examples of stockinette beanie are the Leith hat and the Musselburgh hat by Ysolda. Teague. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I tried to look up how to pronounce it and I couldn't find it. But these are both by this designer, and they're both all stockinette beanies. And they're both, no, one is, the Leith hat is in DK weight, and the Musselburgh hat is in fingering weight. I know the Musselburgh hat is pretty popular. I've heard that you can knit it with one skein of fingering weight yarn. I don't know if that's true. But I've seen people do it. They both look like great beanies. The Musselburgh hat is like a long tube, like you knit like the top, the middle, the end, and then you fold it into itself like a pill, and then you can fold over the brim. So it's a lot of knitting. So I don't know if that's really great for gift knitting, but the Leith hat looks like it's a similar construction to the Oslo hat, but just with a different design, like a little bit of a difference. So if the Oslo hat's not for you, maybe try the Leith hat. Moving on to my next category is scarves. And one thing that I really like to knit and gift knit is one skein scarves, or scarves where you can knit half of it. So you do your increases until you get to the point, and then you do your decreases after that. That means that you can weigh the amount of yarn that you have and then divide it by half and like weigh your project or weigh your yarn that you have left over. So when you're halfway through, or a little bit before halfway through is what you should do, you can start decreasing and you can try to use all of your yarn. I definitely recommend giving yourself a little bit of a cushion, because I have had my gauge and tension change for some reason while decreasing, and I needed more yarn during that process. And it's just good to be safe, because that would suck to have to rip back and to the middle. And you don't want to buy yarn, because the point of this is to like use the amount of yarn that you have. Obviously, the most famous of these scarves is the Sophie scarf. It's the most popular one. I've never made the Sophie scarf, but I know it's a similar construction where the large and the small one, you can use however much yarn you want and kind of just manage where the middle is to know when you need to start decreasing. I don't know if I would ever knit a Sophie scarf. I did show a picture of them to some of my friends and they loved them. So like, I don't know, maybe I would knit Sophie scarves for them just because they really thought they were cute. But I wouldn't have thought of knitting one. Not that I don't like it, but I just like the ones that I've knit so much better, like a bandana type of scarf. But I do think that they're cute. I just don't know if I would ever knit one, but who knows. And so my first example of that is one that I don't have, but I will put some pictures in. And that is the scarf number 4 by My Favorite Things. And that I had one skein of Walcott's Opus in like the black color. And so I was able to use that entire skein by weighing it, knitting to the middle, and then knitting to the end after that. And that one actually I did struggle a bit because my gauge changed so much decreasing, and I'm not really sure why. I ripped it out once and then had to redo it, so I gave myself more of a cushion the second time. And yeah, I loved that scarf. It was a gift, so I didn't keep it, but so it came out like whatever length that I like to use up all the yarn, and that had the point and however long the tails kind of came over at the end. It turned out really great. It was a great gift. It was an easy knit, not like a super fast or like flying off the needles type of knit, because it is like a pattern. It's a ribbed garter pattern. Yeah, it was. So it's similar to the Sophie scarf in that you have that point and then you end. My second scarf is not one of those. This one is one where you just knit until you're done. So like I had the whole skein and I was just able to use the whole thing. I can't remember how it was constructed, but off the top of my head, but I was able to just use up the entirety of my one skein that I had left over. I had a 50-gram skein of yarn of a cashmere blend that I knit a baby beanie out of, and then I had like 32 grams is what this measures, and I was able to knit this little bandana out of it. And this came out really cute. I love this. I'm gonna get so much wear out of this season. I didn't wear it too much when I finished it because it changed seasons, but I did wear it a little bit. But I see myself wearing this all the time. It's really easy to just like tie on, and it looks cute. I really love it. I would definitely knit this as a gift, although I don't think it's like it's not stockinette, so it's not like super fast, but it's small enough that it can be very fast. And it's got a really similar pattern to the My Favorite Things scarf number 4, but you knit it in a different direction. So the My Favorite Things, the pattern is going this way, and this one the pattern is going up and down through the top and the point versus the 2 tails. This one is actually a free pattern, but you do need to join the designer's like newsletter, and then you can get the pattern. I am also knitting the Barbara shawl, and I just started this, so you're not going to get a huge picture here, but this is another pattern. It's the Barbara shawl by Gregoria, and this is another shawl where you can measure how much you have, knit until you get to the point, and then decrease. And the pattern doesn't necessarily like sell itself as that, but if you can see how it's constructed, you can do that. I noticed on the projects for this that a lot of people were knitting this with different weights. So this is a DK pattern, but I saw a lot of knitters knitting it with fingering weight. So I don't know if gauge necessarily matters. You're just knitting until you can get like a shape that you like that's long enough for you to like wrap it around, or just a small one even. But it is a really interesting texture. It's like I think it's called broken garter stitch, and it's got like this 3D squishiness to it that I really like. And this is for me. It's not a gift, but I do think that this would make a pretty good gift. I cast this on last Friday, and I've been distracted by another project that I've been working on, so I haven't done a ton of work on it, but it's the project that lives in my purse right now as my go-to on-the-go project. A couple of other scarves that I think would be great gifts, and you can kind of use the amount of yarn that you have, is the Solo Scarf by Caidree. And this scarf comes in 2 different sizes. The pattern is written for an Aran weight or a DK weight. And the Aran weight one is really nice and big, and it doesn't look like a really chunky like knit, like sometimes how chunky knits can look, I don't know, like kind of like big and bulky. It doesn't look like that. It's a really nice scarf, and I actually was going to knit this with the yarn that I knit the Barbara shawl with, but I didn't realize that it was Aran weight. So I am thinking about picking up some more Juniper Moon, the cashmere blend that I really like, and knitting myself a scarf with one of those colors. We'll see. Another example of a one skein scarf that I would knit is the Waffle Loop bandana by Other Loops, and that is knit up also in a DK, and it's really cool texture. And I believe you can get away with one skein or however much yarn you have if you kind of like make sure to weigh it and strategically stop increasing and start decreasing when you're around halfway. Another cool gift is cowls and neck collars, but I actually only have, I think, the one suggestion, and it's a neck warmer, but it's kind of, I don't know if it's a neck warmer, a collar, or a cowl. It's kind of like a faux turtleneck cowl, and that is the Nellie neck warmer by My Favorite Things. This is knit up in an Aran bulky weight yarn. I knit it in the Juniper Moons yarn for my mom for Christmas last year, and it was a really quick knit. It doesn't require a lot of yarn, so if you wanted to buy like a special yarn for this project, you're not gonna spend too much money like you would in a larger garment. It makes it look like you're wearing like a turtleneck underneath, or it can. It's just a really cute like neck warmer cowl. I don't know if I would wear them, but my mom definitely like rocks it. So if you know someone in your life who like would like something like that, then that's a good one. She told me that she wanted something that would keep her warm around her neck, but that wouldn't be, when you wear a sweater, It's not as bulky. So I was looking at a lot of neck collars, but I settled on this one just because I really liked the yarn that I found at the yarn store, and it fit for this pattern, and so that's why I went with it, but ended up really enjoying it. Super quick knit. Super quick knit. Another thing that you can knit for friends and family is gloves and mitts. And I have one pair of gloves that I knit myself, and that is the Hydra Mitts by Fiber Tales. And they are fingerless mitts. This is a DK weight yarn, and this is a superwash Sweet Georgia yarn. I don't remember the colorway, but these mittens are really cute. They have this really pretty motif, which I made a mistake on mine I think on the braiding, so my braiding looks bigger than the pattern, if you're wondering. I don't remember what I did, but I know I made a mistake. So here they are on, and they have this design of where you can like fold that over when it's cold and keep your fingers nice and toasty. So this would be a cute gift. This was also a fast knit, but it does have that engaging cabling on the front. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to knit boring things, you can knit something like this and still have a quick project. I also found a free pattern for a 75-yard Malabrigo fingerless mitts, and they're worsted weight, and like I said, it's a free pattern, and these don't have the flap, although I think you could probably figure out how to do that. But I liked these because they looked really gender neutral, and they look really comfortable, like they have a tighter gauge, I think, and then the Hydra mitts, at least. These are like a garter on the back, whereas those are just stockinette. In the round mitts with a thumb. I really like those. I think that I could definitely see myself knitting a pair of those, especially knowing that there's 75 grams of, or 75 yards is all you need. If you know how to crochet, is to crochet your gifts. That is because crochet is generally faster than knitting, and it can make for quick gifts and last minute gifts. I just learned how to crochet last year, and I really enjoy crocheting, but I haven't seemed to have found a project to cast on in quite a while since my Ariana cardigan. But I did pick up some cotton weight yarn to knit some more produce bags, and that is the Terra Produce Bag by Laura Vargas, which is a worsted weight pattern, cotton yarn for a produce bag, and I knit one last year for Christmas, and it was a hit. They really liked it, so I thought I would knit myself some for the farmer's market so that I don't have to use the plastic bags that they keep giving me, and I don't know what to do with. It's a quick knit, and it's not as big as a bag. It would be cute to give them like sets, or you could just give them one with like something other. Like I gave my stepsister one produce bag and then a pair of like herb scissors, so it kind of like the theme was, you know, buying herbs. I don't know. That is definitely a good one for a quick last minute Christmas present. A couple of other crochet bags. So I knit a crochet bag for my niece last year, and I did that. TLC Yarn Craft was the pattern or the designer. I don't remember the pattern, but I definitely will link it below. It was part of her Yarn Crochet Academy, and that is how I learned how to crochet, was through TL Yarn Craft's Crochet Academy. And one of the patterns that she had, like a follow-on tutorial, was on there. I cannot remember the name. Oh, you know what? I can look it up. It was like a hexagon crochet bag. It is the Tobago bag, and that is by Tony Lipsy. You crochet like the 3 hexagons, and then you seam it together. And that was a little bit hard for me, especially as a new crocheter, to do the seaming. It was a smidge wonky. So I didn't really enjoy that. I think that if I was going to crochet somebody a bag as a gift, at least where my skill level is now, I would prefer to crochet them something seamless. And so a couple of those bags are the French Market bag by Selena Baca. That is a great like farmer's market grocery bag. It's wholly kind of similar to the produce bag. So I think that would also be a really quick knit. And then also the Portofino bag set. Now this is a pattern with a bag and a water bottle holder, and they're both crocheted, kind of wholly patterns. So I also think that those would go by fast as well. And both of those are seamless. That is my list of my go-to knit. That's not true. I forgot socks. My last category is socks, and you're like, oh, obviously, but you know what? It wasn't obvious to me, so I just feel like I should tell you. If you are not a sock knitter, it is so worth becoming a sock knitter. I love knitting socks, and I don't know where I was this whole time. I think I just I didn't think that it would be easy. I thought it would be hard. And so I knit socks on 9-inch circulars, and they are just my go-to fly off. I mean, I've only made one, or two. It was just so easy and so fast, even though you're knitting with fingering weight yarn and it's not necessarily the smallest project and you have to do things like heels and toes. They were just really fast for me. So not this year, but in the future, I would definitely knit sock for gift knits. And I would use the pattern, the 9-inch circular vanilla socks by the Crazy Sock Lady. I'm also learning how to do colorwork socks with the Summerly Cuff Club. And I would not gift those because I'm not good at it yet. And also they're just way more work than the regular stockinette socks. But I would gift stockinette socks. You have to kind of know who you're gifting them to. Like Mr. Cheek would love some hand knit socks, but he cannot commit to not putting them in the dryer. So, I don't know. It just isn't going to work. He's like, no, they're definitely going to end up in the dryer. So I don't know. If you know somebody in your life who can handle not drying their socks in the dryer, then I definitely think it is worth knitting a pair of socks. You could always do like a worsted or a DK weight, because I feel like you would really only wear those around the house, and so you would know not to throw them in the regular washing machine. I don't know. That is all of my knits that I put together that I have knit as a gift knitter and would continue to knit. I do have a project that I've been working on that I really, really enjoyed. I cast it on last week, so it's only been 6 days since I cast this on, and I am almost done. I just have like one more repeat and then I can cast off. And that is the Night and Day Cowl by Andrew Mowry. And I'm throwing this in as a sneak peek to my regular podcast episodes, but I really, really enjoyed this project, and it was really, really fast. As a gift knit, this is kind of something that's much more style-wise. Like, obviously you have to know who you're gifting it for, right? So this is how it's going to come around here. But if you know somebody in your life who likes a cowl, this is a DK weight pattern, and I used a skein of Walcott's Origin and a skein of Spin Cycle. I had 50 grams of Spin Cycle, so one skein, and then one skein of the Walcott Origin. I like this pattern because Spin Cycle is expensive, and it's nice to just have, if you want to buy some, like if you're at an event or something and you see it, but only can afford one, this is a really great project for that. At least I thought so. I'm sure there are other single skein Spin Cycles out there, projects, but I really like the way that Spin Cycle looks paired with a solid, so that it brings out the Spin Cycle that I spent so much money on, and I want to be able to see it. So this pattern was really enjoyable, and I could definitely see myself knitting another one and gifting it. I think my mom would really like one of these, but you just have to know who you're gifting it for and if they would like it. So even though I'm not done with it and I haven't gifted this, I could totally see myself gifting this cowl to someone. Even though I haven't really knit a lot of cowls, I feel like they could be a great gift. They're pretty, like you don't need a lot of yardage, and they're quick. They're not as bad as shawls. I definitely will use up the whole skein of been cycled at 50 grams, but the Walcott Origin, this was a 100 gram skein that I had to dip into for the weekend hat that I showed earlier, my weekend hat. And I only used like 10 grams of the second skein because it's a triple folded beanie. So I had like 80 grams of this, and I will definitely have a little bit left over when I'm done. But it's a great project for, it's a new pattern, and it's a great project for scrappy, projects if you have not a full skein of a couple of things that you can play with, high contrast colors for that like square effect. So yeah, this has been my gift knitting video. I hope you enjoyed it. And now that we're going into the gift knitting season, don't be mad at me for posting this beginning of November, because you need time to think about gift knitting. I am definitely not ready for the season, but I am going to keep enjoying fall like a sane human being until after Thanksgiving. No judgment. I know people really like Christmas, but I am going to definitely put off putting up any decorations for Christmas until after Thanksgiving. But, as a knitter, you do have to kind of prepare yourself. Am I going to prepare myself for gift knitting? No, I'm going to wait until the last minute if I decide to knit anything, which I probably will. You'll get to know all about that later if you subscribe. So please subscribe, like, and leave me a comment on what your favorite gift knit is to knit. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.